These two guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Yes, and our special guest on the show today hails originally from Edina, Minnesota. He is a former WWE 24/7 champion, the winner of the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal in 2022, and most importantly, a former participant in the Meineke Car Care Bowl. He is Madcap Moss, WWE Superstar.
For having me on.
What is going on, man? What is your favorite Meineke Car Care Bowl moment?
Oh man, there's a moment where in the fourth quarter I stripped and recovered a fumble from the quarterback. It was a huge moment in the game. Kind of changed the momentum and set us up for victory. And man, I just went nuts, just screaming my head off, celebrating. Unfortunately, the end of that story is it was reviewed and overturned. So I didn't actually get the fumble recovery, but it was for a few minutes there, it was pretty good.
I remember watching that thing. God, I feel like just the celebration alone, they should leave that call. You can't take that away from somebody.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, I thought it was close for sure, but I didn't think there was enough to overturn it. So yeah, I'm still a bit bitter about that one to this day.
So what is this like for you? WWE Smackdown at Target Center. And by the way, for anyone who catches this in podcast form before the show tonight, there are still some tickets available, so check it out. And you're gonna wrestle against Happy Corbin in a last laugh match. That's been a super fun feud for anyone that's followed over the last. The arc goes back like almost a year. But what is it like for you? I mean, you've been grinding, from your college football days. You've been grinding and honing in on just everything to do with wrestling and the Madcap persona. And here you are, it's SmackDown. You've kind of got this thing nailed now as Madcap Moss. What's it like for you to come back to your home state, the Target Center?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And it really does feel like perfect timing where for a while there, I was with Happy and we were doing our thing together until I just couldn't take his crap any longer and, turned around and punched him in the face.
I love it.
Now we've been going at it for a couple of months, but it just really feels like the momentum for Madcap has been building. And, I've been able to display this fun side of me, this sort of class clown side of me. But then, Happy tried to end my career, tried to break my neck. And then I had to get a bit more serious and show kind of the intense side of me. So I've been able to show both sides of me, and which is really fun. And like I said, the WWE universe, everybody's starting to get behind me. The momentum's building, and for it to kind of culminate tonight in a last laugh match in front of my hometown at the Target Center, where I've grown up and gone to so many games over the years of the Timberwolves, and just, I hope that I see a lot of my fellow Minnesotans there tonight. I hope they have my back, and I'm sure they will. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an absolutely electric atmosphere.
Hey, do you still keep up with Minnesota sports? Do you still get depressed when they let you down? What's your connection to Minnesota sports these days?
So starting with the Gophers, my little brother Nick was on the team for the 4 years following me being on the team. So I obviously followed them very closely and knew a lot of the guys, pretty much everybody, So that was really cool. And then when he graduated and the coaching staff changed, I kind of didn't know anyone on the team anymore, and I kind of fell out of touch a little bit. And I kind of thought, well, I'm a bit over that. It's not that big of a deal to me anymore. And then they beat the Badgers one year, and a tear came down my face right here. And I thought, no, I'm not over that yet. So yeah, I do still follow. I still follow the Gophers closely. My little brother Nick is coaching for the Philadelphia Eagles now, so they're my number one team right now. But yeah, I also follow the Timberwolves. They had a fun year this year. I'd say that's about all I have time for. That's pushing it as it is. So I try to keep an eye on things for sure. And it was a fun but heartbreaking end of the season for the Timberwolves just a couple of months ago.
Yeah, and then they went and said, okay, let's just go hire one of the top 5 presidents of basketball operations. It's like A-Rod owns the team. It's all very odd what's happened the last year or so.
Yeah, it's not very Timberwolves-like. It's a new era for the T-Wolves. So I think with Kat and Anthony Edwards, I think they got a chance to be pretty fun over the next few years. I
loved, and this is, I'm a huge wrestling nerd. Our audience knows. I mean, I've been a fan. The first match I ever remember watching was Warrior Hogan in 1990, and then became a bigger fan during the Attitude Era. And so this is probably going to be more of a nerdy question for hardcore wrestling fans, but you've gotten really good on the mic. And you always did some media stuff when you were in college too, but you've gotten really good on the mic. And is that you worked with Dusty Rhodes, rest his soul, in developmental. What went into you just developing that voice on the mic and enhancing that madcap persona?
Yeah. Going back to the days at the University of Minnesota, when I was given an interview, I tried to give a bit more than just the standard answers. But the thing with football is you can always kind of fall back on the standard answers and just kind of give the Bill Belichick line.
Yeah, they don't. Your coaches don't want you to really say anything.
No, you're not. You don't want to say anything too specific about a game plan or anything like that. Kind of just keep it simple and basic. And it's really the opposite. So that is with WWE, so that is the biggest difference. And working with Dusty Rhodes was an unbelievable experience, but it was a process. We built it up from just the most basic. The first night I worked with him, I just had a conversation with everybody and just introduced myself. It wasn't anything more than that. And then we started working on, he would have me sell him on a match for 30 seconds. And then he would toss me an orange and tell him to sell the orange to him. Just a bunch of different things like that. And then just really getting comfortable speaking about anything, and then starting to develop the personality and let it come through naturally. And then the most important thing is that it comes through authentic. And I think that's over the last few months, the last year or so, being able to find a piece of me that I can really put passionately into the Madcap character has been the key to me feeling most comfortable speaking and being able to be entertaining and at times, over the top and selling what we're doing, but also be 100% authentic and mean every word that I say.
So you guys he would toss you almost like improv. He would toss you something. Have you ever seen, you can find him on YouTube, but the old Macho Man promos where he would grab a garbage can and you're nothing but garbage, you're nothing but, or he'd grab a little coffee creamer thing and the cream of the crop. And I always wondered, was someone just like, all right, you're about to go, here's a prop, you have to mix it into your promo. And he was brilliant at it.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but I would guess that he just did that so much over the years. He just got so comfortable with it. And obviously that was the real Macho Man, coming through. And so it was probably a combination of doing it so much that he had a bit of a template, but also just being so authentic in who he was. And just, it doesn't matter what you threw him. He could pick up anything and sell you on it and relate it to how he's going to, whoop somebody's what that night.
Yeah. Yesterday's news, holding a newspaper, exactly. There's like 10 of them out there. When did you fall in love with the industry, with the business? What hooked you in? How old were you?
It was early. And the first guy that, there was so many guys. When I was growing up as a fan of WWE, I kind of just liked everybody. Like, it was pretty easy to impress me. But the one guy that really hooked me was Goldberg. And I think it was partly because he had the football background and he was just such a beast, man. He was so big and jacked and strong and physically impressive, but also just the intensity was so turned up with him and so authentic and so real. And I remember the security would come knock on his locker room door and you'd hear just a thud before he came out, and it was him headbutting the locker, getting ready for the match, and you could see a little bit of a mark on his forehead usually. But that's just who he was. And recently at Elimination Chamber earlier this year, I got to meet him for the first time finally, and we got to hang out for a weekend, and I got to pick his brain a little bit, and he passed down some knowledge. So that was like a really cool full circle experience, because you talk about, I have quite a few memories of different shows growing up and different memories of WWE. But when Goldberg beat Hulk Hogan for the WCW championship in Atlanta, in his hometown, that one sticks out to me. Like, I remember exactly where I was, and I was watching with my brothers, and just how excited we were that he actually did it. For some reason, I didn't think I thought Hogan would somehow find a way to get it done, but no, Goldberg came through. It was just like, it was a really cool moment.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the coolest things. And like in football, you get to meet former players if if your career continues into the NFL and whatnot. But careers in the NFL are 3, 5, 8 years, and so you were never going to go to the NFL, let's say 10 years ago, and then play against a guy or be in a locker room against a guy that you grew up watching in the 90s. But WWE careers can be a lot longer, and guys can come back. And so that's got to be one of the cool things in that, okay, some of these dudes that you were watching when you were younger in high school or whatever, you might actually get to compete against or be in a locker room with.
Right. Yeah, it's a balance, too, because you can't be too awestruck to where, you forget that you're a superstar, too. So you got to be able to bring it. And, I would love to be able to step into a ring with some of those guys that I grew up watching. Someone like Goldberg or Brock Lesnar or John Cena, those kind of guys that have had just unbelievable runs in WWE. One guy that I have been able to do that with just briefly, it was a 14-man tag match in Brooklyn, so 7-on-7, and but I got to step in the ring and mix it up with Randy Orton a little bit.
Yeah,
and I mean, you want to talk about an all-time run? I mean, the guy just hit the 20-year mark of just absolute main event championship, top of the card run for 20 years. It's just really unreal what he's been able to do. So yeah, really, it's kind of got to remind yourself to enjoy the experience. Like, hey, I'm in the ring right now with Randy Orton. It's pretty cool.
I'll tell you the loudest. I think the two loudest stadium pops I've ever heard, just as a guy covering sports for my life. One of them was Brett Favre throwing a touchdown pass to Greg Lewis in a game in 2009 at the end, back in the end zone.
Yep.
The other one was, I'll give you a little backstory here. So I used to cover the Minnesota Twins as a beat writer for like 4 years between 2010 and 2013. And so I would be down in Fort Myers, Florida for spring training for like 2 months, right around the time that WrestleMania was, end of March, early April.
Yeah.
And WrestleMania was in Miami. The main event was The Rock versus Cena 1. And that was also the Triple H, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, Shawn Michaels special guest referee. I have goosebumps even just recalling that match. And so I went to WrestleMania. I just made the 2-hour drive to Miami, bought a solo ticket. It's my first ever WrestleMania, drove back, and I got a tip from someone in the know, but they couldn't say exactly what, they didn't want to get in trouble, but they said, if you're already down there, you might want to go to Monday Night Raw too. Like, you already made the drive one night. Yeah. You should go to Monday Night Raw. Trust me. And so I'm like, Jesus. So I bought another solo ticket on StubHub or whatever, drove my ass 2.5 hours across the state, waited till the end of the show, and Brock Lesnar's music hits for the first time in 7 years. Loudest arena pop I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, those moments are really cool. I remember that one for sure. I mean, the one that comes to mind for me was we were just in Dallas at AT&T Stadium for WrestleMania this year, and Austin put on an unbelievable 2-night performance.
Dude, he still had it, man. He still had it.
100%. Yeah. He looked great. And, obviously one of the greatest of all time. So, yeah, it was an unreal performance. I was there in, I want to say it was 2015, maybe 2016, I think we were there for WrestleMania. And it was a surprise appearance from Steve Austin. And when that music hit, it was like I couldn't even hear myself yell. It was just like unbelievable reaction from the WWE universe. So I know what you're talking about, and that's what I love about the WWE is, one, the fan interaction and how big of a role they play. They just make it so much better. But also the unpredictable element. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who's going to show up. And those are the kind of moments that I look back on through the years where it was just like so cool, man. Just goosebump moments.
Just a couple more for you because I want to respect your time. You're doing some media this morning. But the other one that made the hair on the back of my arm stand up, they were teasing for weeks, 10 years ago. This is like 2011 or whatever. Special guest WrestleMania host. And we're going to announce it in 2 weeks on Raw, right? It was this huge buildup. And they finally get toward, I can't remember if it was the top of the hour or if it was toward the end of the show, and the lights go off in the arena, and there's like an 8-second pause, and it's quiet. If you smell for the first time in 7 years, and I was in my living room alone, just like just off the walls, yelling.
Yeah.
Do you have any just you mentioned Steve Austin, but as a fan or as a competitor, just like the surprise returns that stick with you, those moments that just blow the roof off an arena that get you hooked?
Yeah, I mean the like I said, the Austin one stands out to me. Also my first WrestleMania I ever attended, it was Triple H against Sting, and I was a huge NWO fan growing up. So first DX came out, and they helped Triple H turn the tide.
That's right.
And sure enough, a couple minutes later, that NWO music hit, and I just lost. I was standing out in the crowd. I just lost my mind. I was
that 5-mile ramp too. That's like that.
Yeah,
they come out and it's like a half hour later. They're
oh yeah. Well, so DX, Billy Gunn hit a 40-yard sprint. I think he got there in about 3 seconds. But the NWO, they didn't even show up until about 15 seconds after the music hit.
Yeah.
They took their time and soaked up that moment. Yeah. So that was really cool though, because I actually got to work with Scott Hall a little bit too over the years, and he was like one of my favorites growing up, and someone who I try to emulate today, in my performance. So moments like that, getting to meet guys and then also see them out there still doing their thing. They still have that just that it factor to be able to get the crowd going. So many cool moments. I will say for me personally, the moment where the WWE universe really started to get behind me, where I was out there with Happy for a Happy Talk segment, and he, was kind of doing his thing, moaning and complaining and blaming me for his loss, and the crowd just started chanting for Madcap, and I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, man.
It was in Milwaukee too, so I've had to forgive Wisconsin for their sins of being from Wisconsin, because they got behind me that night. That was pretty cool because it was just it wasn't expected. I didn't think that they would back me like that, and they did.
I love that you have to turn on him. I love that you turned on him, because for you to become that next level star, you have to dispose of your former partner. Mm-hmm. And tonight at Target Center, tickets are still available. If you guys are hearing this on the podcast before Friday night, Madcap Moss against Happy Corbin in a last laugh match at Target Center. One more thing for you. So Minnesota, I feel like I haven't done like a state-by-state comparison, but Minnesota has been such a hotbed for WWE guys over the last even 30, 40 years. I mean, the U of M specifically, a lot of Shelton Benjamin, Brock Lesnar, Chad Gable is a St. Michael guy who went to a different college, and then you go back to the Mr. Perfects and I guess what's it like sort of carrying the torch now for this generation of Minnesota-based WWE guys?
It's really cool because it's like two families coming together, and we all kind of have each other's backs, and it's this common thing that we all have. Another guy who's just coming into it right now is Gable Steveson, and he had a moment in Dallas at WrestleMania where it was just unbelievable how natural and athletic and comfortable he looked. So I think there's really high hopes for him. His brother is actually in NXT right now, who I've talked to a few times, and same thing, he looks super natural. So I mean, that University of Minnesota, the Minnesota bond in general, Gable and I go back and forth on, we always give each other crap over who the bigger star from Minnesota is, or, we claim to be getting mobbed at the airport every time we come home, and it's just so annoying, In reality, I don't think there's anyone who's really even noticed us there, but, it's just a bond that, we all share, in the University of Minnesota, especially. Brock has been really cool to me. He's been able to give me a few pointers here and there, and just been a really good guy in general. So, it's kind of like two different parts of my life coming together, and being able to return here, it's like all these memories come flooding back. So it's just such a big part of who I am. The University of Minnesota, it shaped me and made me the person I am today, and to be able to carry that on and help guys out and be helped, it's kind of a cool little circle of life thing.
Love it, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Madcap Moss. Go kick Happy Corbin's ass tonight.
Absolutely. It'll be fun.
All right,
Can't
thanks,
wait.
man. Madcap Moss, WWE Superstar. Keep tabs on his career. I think it's only going up. See you guys, Mackey and Judd.